Okay, well, I'm in my office today with my golden ruler, and I like that. I like that. I found myself an old book. This one, the encyclopedia, and when was this written? This isn't what we're going to talk about today, but anyway, it was an illustrated encyclopedia, and let's say this is made in the USA. Oh, copyright 1954, 55, 56. So this is an old book, and this is how knowledge was going. And I had said to people before internet, this is how we managed to find things. You had to look it up in this word called an encyclopedia. But anyway, and I have this ruler on my desk that I want to talk about today. I'm here to talk about the fact that I'm constantly trying to figure out my mind. Now, I have been on this earth for a long time, and I like a lot of things, and sometimes it's hard to explain something to people. So it's in my head that whatever it is that they've asked me about, I might have, but I'm going to have a physical reaction, and then I'm going to have I need something to write down real quick. So I always need paper. I always need these little scraps of paper all the time. I make lists on them. I do other things. But sometimes I use this as a safety raft, as something that's going to save my life in that conversation. So I was with my car friends, and I like cars. I like old cars, not as much as new cars. I like new cars, and I like fancy cars, and I like the little things. I like all the little things about them. So I am very interested in that. And also, you get inspiration from old cars, and so sometimes it's just doing that. I had a man come in, and he worked with me, and I called him the smoking theologian, and I thought, he dedicated his life to theology, and it just seemed odd to me that a man of that caliber would be smoking cigarettes. And he was always smoking. He was chain smoking all the time. Anyway, he had bought a car to be able to give people rides in, and then he would charge them for that. And he came to my desk. He said, well, you got to come because look at this thing I bought. And I looked at it, and I said, you bought a 1929 Flying Cloud Rolls Royce? And he looked at me, and you would have thought, what? And then so in the same kind of, and that he never forgets it. He tells that story every single time. Like, how did you know? Well, because of the way that it looks, and you don't get that this thing. And so anyway, but I sometimes look surprised, and then I'm like, it looks like I'm mystified that you are asking me a question. But here's a process. There's a process, because I don't even know what all is entangled in this labyrinth of information in my head. I remind people, it's like, it's trillions. You have all these synapses in your brain. Like, you got to take care of your brain. You can't be doping up your brain. You got a trillion. It's 10 to the 14th power in here that holds things. So what this machine does is, it's not about holding things. This number one capacity called your brain is about deleting things. So it just takes a little crumb and holds it back there. So was I thinking that day when before I looked out that window, that I would remember what a 1924 Rolls Royce headlight looked like? No, but it's somewhere in my jumble magic. So anyway, we had this moment. We were with my friends, and this is current time now. So not with the smoking theologian. So we were in the current time, and we were with my friend, and he knew when we were sitting there that I would remember something. And we were talking about the fact that my husband loved this 1966 car, and that lucky him, he got the upgraded 1966 model right here. And his friend said, "Oh yeah, that had this thing in the back." And I said, "Well, that's the sequential motor of that's the sequential." And they all looked at me and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And now I wasn't talking about something that's mind bending. I was just talking about something that was just a piece of information about a piece of machinery. And sometimes when you ask me a question, I'll look stumped because I'm looking for that information. Or I don't know how it pops it out. I don't actually, if I could know how this 10 to the 14th power of stuff works in my head, I would put AI on it right now. So, he says, and I popped it out right away. My brain does a very good job of saying, here's a piece of information. But if I do not write it down real quick, sequential, I can't, and so he sees me instantly looking for a piece of paper, and I'm like, okay, well, I got that tip of that right here, but I got to write it down because now I got to have a visual on it. Now I got to have a visual that says sequential. And now I can hold it and look at you again. And now I can just take a breath. And now this labyrinth can smooth out. I can take a breath, and it can start to remember everything that's attached to that motor. Now that motor on that rear light was a physical thing. It was an actual thing, and it went ting, 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 ting. It went like that. So it was an actual mechanism. So if your rear light went out, you had to go get this mechanism to go like this, and it made a noise because it was a physical thing. And then it's going to pull up all the other things, right? About, well, it's a 2-door, and it's all the things that are attached to that, and they're going to come in, and I'm just going to breathe, and I'm going to it's going to pull all that information forward for me, so that it will be available in whatever conversation that I'm having with somebody. So we're talking about a 1966 Thunderbird. Now, have I owned one? Never. Have I been in one? I don't even think so. But that information is somehow serpentined in here, and it popped out. And a lot of times I don't know what's coming out that cupboard. It just pops out. You can't quiz me on it. I don't know where it was. It just came out of this buried piece of magic that I carry around with me. So then he says, "Oh yeah, yes." So we talk about that, and we start talking about the car, and I said, "I think that car had a tire skirt, and I think it had a tire skirt. You had to take that piece off before you can take that rear tire off." And he says, "Oh, I forgot about that. Yes." And so then we talked about a lot of other things. But the point of the matter is, I am wrestling with this brain of mine, and I don't know how it works. But every day, it is interesting. It is interesting. So when you say me, go, sometimes I am shocked. I am shocked that you asked that question. I am not shocked that you are asking the wrong question, but it just hit me. It hit me what you were saying. And so sometimes what you're saying is perhaps decipherable to only my brain, but not to who I am, right? So it might not be front and center, but it might be dug up out of that thing. So sometimes you can ask me a question from very long ago, like a sequential thing, right? It goes like this. Who would know? Who would know? Why would I know the front headlight of a 1929 Flying Cloud? Why? Why? I don't know. It is not part of my morning routine, but it's in there somewhere. It's in there somewhere. And sometimes what I'm learning about myself as I age is that weird thing that's serpentined in there, right? It's indecipherable, it's mystifying, it's a lot of things, but it's somewhere in there. They're also attached to my emotions. And sometimes something that you're saying is going to bring out exactly a piece of information, but it's an emotion. It's an emotion. And I don't know when it's popping out. Sometimes it's fright. Sometimes it's interest. Sometimes it's curiosity. Sometimes it's that I was afraid of a pebble when I was 3. I don't know. But you have to be calm. And everybody's looking for an immediate reaction to something. And I ain't got it, because it's got to come through 10 to the 14 power of road construction that's in my head. So I don't know. I'm just, that's what I'm learning about this age is it's awkward. And a lot of times I'm stunned and I have to find that little string and I have to write it down and I have to have a process. Now, I'm not losing my mind. It's just that there's a lot of it in there. It's just a lot of it in there. I'm not losing my mind. I'm actually finding parts of it all the time. It's big. It's got a lot of things in it because I pay attention. Pay attention to you. Pay attention to everybody in my family. Pay attention to the world. So if you pay attention, you got a lot of stuff in there. But again, your mind has a processor that isn't about storing stuff. It just stores stuff to go, all right, I'm going to store this little bit, and then I'm going to put it into a little drive, I'm going to compact it, and I'm going to stick it on this synapse, and then when you pull it out, if you pull it out and you have to undo that file, right, it'll give you the rest of it, but you got to take a minute. And for me, I'm a feeling person. I live through my emotions. And I have to sort them out also with my intellect. And then I have to put it into this exact world we are living in at this moment. And it is complex. It is a labyrinth. It is not fast. A labyrinth means that I got to walk around in it and find my way out. So sometimes you just need to give me a minute. And then I'll find the answer for you. I'll see you later.